How to be sure your projects are bug-free and available 24/7 to your users. Discover GlitchTip, a free open-source platform for error tracking, application performance monitoring, and uptime monitoring. It is a free open-source alternative to Sentry using the same SDK and event system, which results in a smooth transition from one to the other. Before diving into the platform overview, let's have a look at the different options available to use it. You can use the cloud-hosted version from GlitchTip for up to 1000 events per month for free. Above that threshold, the first paid offer starts at $15 per month. Or you can self-host it on your server to get unlimited usage for free. Together, we'll use our platform Elestio to install the self-hosted version with automatic updates, backups, and maintenance. To install GlitchTip, go to ls.io, hit login, click on Deploy My First Service, search for GlitchTip, hit Select, choose your cloud provider, your region of deployment, and your service plan by adjusting CPU and RAM. Then hit Next, choose between the different level of support, the first one is included, and hit Create Service. Once your instance is ready, you receive an email or you can access it directly from your Elestio dashboard. Get the password by going to Display Admin UI, copy the password, and access your instance administration dashboard by clicking on the Admin UI link. And then enter your email address, the one from your Elestio account, and paste the password. The first thing we will need to do is to create an organization. So create new organization. We'll name it Elestio, create organization. Now our organization is created. We need to create projects that we want to monitor. So create new project in Elestio. We have the choice between the different platform, either browser, server, so backend side, mobile, and desktop. I will be using browser 1 and we will choose Nextjs. Let's name it demo app. And we need to create a team within our organization to manage this project. Let's create it. And as we want only one, we'll name it dev. But if your projects are separated between different teams, it's preferable to name them correctly. Create team and create project. Now our project is creating in GlitchTip, but we need to install it to our Nextjs project. But first, let's create a Nextjs project. To create a new Nextjs app in a terminal, run npx create next app. The project name, we'll name it demo GlitchTip. We won't use TypeScript. ESLint no, Tailwind yes, AppRouter no, no, and we are good. Once it's created, we can open the folder containing it. Open folder, open it. We can now run npm run dev and click on the link to access it. Now we have an Nextjs application. We can try to bind the GlitchTip to it. Let's go back to our instance and we have the guide to connect it. And you can notice that their installation guide is using Sentry/Nextjs. It is because their event system and the way they communicate is the same between Sentry and GlitchTip. So we can use directly Sentry SDK. But in the second step, we will bind it to our GlitchTip instance URL. So let's follow the instructions. In the terminal, paste the command to install Sentry Nextjs. Then we will need to run the Sentry wizard. So let's copy until URL, paste it, and copy the instance URL from the address bar, until.app. Paste it, be sure it includes everything, and hit enter. So our application, it's a Nextjs one. They say we have uncommit file, but it's not an issue. Do we want to continue? Yes. Do we have a Sentry account? We can say no. And because we defined our URL to GlitchTip, it tried to log us in using the URL of our GlitchTip instance. So it successfully connected it automatically. If we go back to the terminal, we can see login complete, so we can continue. Our GlitchTip project here is Elestio, the organization/demo app, the one we just created. Hit enter. Do we want to update the package? Okay, yes. Do we use a CI/CD tool? It is to provide the source map when we do some build of our project, but we don't need it in our case, so hit no. And successfully set up Sentry for your project. In our case, it is GlitchTip, but because we are using their SDK, it is displaying a Sentry message. To try if it works, we can go to Sentry example page. So let's run it again. We can hide the terminal now. Go back to our project, paste the path to the error, and we have this page from Sentry to throw a test error. We push the button. We have the UI from Sentry displaying that we have an error. Now let's go to our project. Inside the issues, we now have two issues. One is Sentry example frontend error, and the second one is Sentry example API route error. Now let's try to do another error which is not the test one. We can go inside the code of the project, pages, index.js, find the logo. We'll go just below the logo and we'll create a button. Let's make it orange, rounded. Let's add some padding, make a pointer and trigger error. What we will do is a simple error, which will be on click. We will call a method that doesn't exist, window.fakeMethod. If we go back to our page, we can click on trigger error, and like we did for the example error, we have that model here showing us the error. Don't worry, this model is only open when you are in development. For a normal user, if there is a crash, it will be silent or it will be displayed in the developer console, but it won't bother the user unless it really impacts the end result of your website. Now we have our 3 errors shown on the issues in GlitchTip. You can filter them based on the date of the occurrence, also the end date, so you can see if it's only issues from the past, you can ignore them and mark them as resolved. You can sort them either by last seen, so chronologically, or how frequent it is for your users, which is often what you want to do because one error for one user is not as important as the same error for thousands of users. You can also define if it's only for development or for production, but because we only used development, for the moment we have only this. We will try in production just after. And you can also search based on different criteria. So let's open our fake method error. If you are familiar to Sentry, you can see it really looks like the same application. You have a lot of information about the error that was triggered. First, the IP address, the browser used, the OS used, and even more information about the user. You have the number of occurrence. You can switch between the different events triggered for this method. So currently we have only one, but otherwise it will be the older and newer button. On the right, you have access to all the different tags and the percentage to really detect where the error is coming from. So maybe it will be only on macOS. So it can help you debug it faster. But the best way to debug it is to have a look at the code and what triggered it. Either we provide the source map, or because our code is encrypted or built, we can easily have a look at the code here and find the error. It is displayed here on the window.fakeMethod. We know the exact line, and we also have the stack trace to see what came to this line. In the breadcrumbs section, we know everything that happened for the user, what files were loaded, what navigation was done before the event was triggered. So when we clicked on the button with those class. So it's very easy to understand what the user did to have that error, so you can reproduce it and fix it. You have additional information about the user. You can also add other content that you need, for example, the user ID, if the user has specific access, so you can even fine-tune the bug detection based on your project. Now let's go back to our project and try to build it for production. So let's run npm run build. This will bundle our project and make it production ready. Now our build is created. We should host it somewhere so it's available worldwide, but we can also test it locally. npm run start. It's the same process you would use on your server. So now we are running the production version. We can reload our project. We don't see any difference, except that if I hit trigger error, the model won't appear. The error will be silent. Still, you can see it in the developer console on the right, but it won't impact the user experience. But of course, you should handle it and provide the best experience based on what is expected from this button. Let's go back to the issues, and now we have it separated in two. It's not because the event has been triggered twice. We can reload and trigger it again and again. If I reload, one is triggered twice, while the other is only triggered once. It is because now we have the production environment here. So the production, it happened twice, while in development, it only happened once for the fake method event. So it really helps you distinguish what errors are only for development purpose, and you will have a lot of issues only in development while you are coding the project, while the one for production are the real one you want to monitor and fix. Once an issue has been fixed, all you have to do is go to it, click here and mark as resolved. You can also do it from inside, and you can also reopen it or ignore the issue. So if you go back to issues, in production, we don't have issues anymore. But if we go back to our project, trigger the error one more time, it will automatically reopen the issue because it's still happening and you want to notice that something that you thought was resolved. In fact, it is not. Sometimes it can depend on the version of your project. So if you go to releases, currently we have only that version. The ID is generated automatically. But if we go back to our package.json, change the version of our project here, we rerun the build. Once it's done, run start. We can open our project, trigger the error, and now in the release page, we have two different versions. We don't have that much information inside the release section because we didn't upload the source map at the build. But if you do, it will appear here. Now let's discover another great feature from GlitchTip. It can also serve you as a monitoring tool. Inside the uptime monitors, currently we don't have any, so it's a blank screen. We don't have a guide to explain us what it is and how to use it. But still, we know it and we can add monitor on the top right. Let's name it dashboard. We can perform different type of operation to see if our instance is running. We will do a simple ping. We'll do it over dash.ls.io. So it's once you are logged in, our main application. We can associate it to a project or not. Let's link it to demo app, even if they are not related at all. We can define how often we want to do that ping. By default, it's once per minute, which is common. Based on your project, you might need to decrease or increase it. And you can also customize the timeout before it's stated as an error. By default, it is 20 seconds, so we can keep it and create monitor. Currently, we have no data because we need to have the first ping, but let's create a second monitor. Let's name it test. We will also do a ping, but instead we will go to test.ls.io, which doesn't exist. We will also assign it to demo app, make it every minute, and create monitor. While we don't have any data yet, you can see that we can define alerts. So they are the one associated to demo app because we linked it to demo app, but we didn't configure our project yet to get alert when there are issues. So we can visit the project setting to get our alerts. Let's go to create a new alert. So when an event happens at least once, we will send an email to team members on this project. Okay, perfect. Let's submit it. Now let's go back to our uptime monitors. We should have some events. So you can see that for dashboard, it worked. 3 times it worked. And test isn't working. We can open the alert to have more detail about what is happening when there were downtime and the response time it takes to do the ping request. And below you have the list of the different tests done. So it's quite simple. It doesn't give you a status page, but it can help you detect errors and receive alerts when anything happens on your instances. Let's change our error here, test error 2, run in development, and let's trigger the error. So now we have the model back because we are in development. Now because we configure the alert on the project, as soon as there is a new type of error, I receive an email to tell me so we can take action before it's getting too important and fix it as soon as possible for our users. Now let's talk about the third main feature, the performance tab. From here, you can see how long the page load takes. So for our test example, it was very short because it was just triggering errors. The page load has an average duration of 1 second, and the example front-end transaction 152. Like for the issues, you can apply different filters to find the transaction that interests you. Let's create a new page inside our project, new file, portfolio.js. I created a default component displaying some images. Now we can open /portfolio. We have our page with the different images, and automatically inside performance, it will appear. We have /portfolio, and we know the average duration time. It's telling us the server time, not the front-end time for loading different images. That's why we have a relative comparable time between the different pages. We can open portfolio. We have the number of transactions that lead to this average duration. There are not a lot of information here, but still you can use it to detect performance issues. We have covered the main features. Let's dive into the settings of GlitchTip. You can rename your organization name or delete it. You have the list of the different projects. Currently, we were working on demo app, but you can create as many projects as you want and have as many events as you want if you are using the self-hosted version, like the one we are using with Elestio. You can adjust your teams. You have the choice using only one team like I did, or create one team per project or for multiple projects. Based on the size of your organization, it can be pretty convenient. You can open it, see the different members, the different projects assigned to it, so you can remove access to a whole team in a second. And you can rename and delete it. Then you can invite other team members to your GlitchTip instance, so your whole organization can have access, either the developers to correct issues, but also the stakeholders to see the performance and how fast the issues are corrected. Then you have the profile settings. There is one setting I'm sure you would like me to do before recording the video, which was enabling the dark mode. By default, it is automatic, but my computer is in light mode, so it wasn't displaying the application in dark mode. But you can see, if you prefer, you can use it. You can update your password, email address, delete your account, enable multi-factor authentication if you want to secure your access to GlitchTip. The approach used is by using an authenticator app. You can set up your notification, but for your own account. Even if the project you are attached to receive email, you can also disable it personally. And you can create auth tokens for your different projects. Because we run the wizard, it was done automatically for us inside our project. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video and that it will help your projects being always up and running. Please consider hitting the like button. It really helps the channel be more visible to other open source software lovers. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss our upcoming videos. If you want to continue discovering great free tools, watch this video here.